بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Inshallah, through Ramadan we will have maybe about 45 minutes before Adhan al-Maghrib, we will have some kind of a session like this on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, inshallah. Sheikh Abdul Mun'im as well from Quran and Sunnah will be giving some of those sessions bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So tomorrow will be Sheikh Abdul Mun'im, inshallah. My sessions will be on a small book by one of the great scholars of Islam who lived about 700 years ago, and his name is Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, and he has a very small book, but it's extremely powerful. It's a very powerful book. It's called Al-Mihajja fi Sayr al-Dulja. It's basically the truth, or the clear truth, with regards to taking the path to Allah. And so he has beautiful advice there, quite straightforward book, very simple. It's about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll go through it and make a commentary on it. But today, just as a starter, inshallah, because I wanted to talk about some things that have to do with the Quran, specifically relating to the meanings. So in Taraweeh, I was trying to catch Taraweeh before we're done with Surah Al-Baqarah and Taraweeh, but we couldn't make that in time. So nonetheless, we can start now in this session. So we have this session on this, inshallah. Again, the importance of understanding the Quran is this is an issue of extreme importance that we often don't appreciate. We don't duly appreciate. Because it's easier to deal with the words of the Quran in terms of memorization, in terms of reading, which is a great thing to do, by the way. But the point of the Quran is understanding it to be able to reflect. To be able to reflect. Because that's the main point of the Quran. The scholars have pointed out that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the Quran to be reflected upon. Allah is the word in the Quran, لِيَذَّكَّرُوا. And the Quran many times is referred to in the Quran itself as dhikra or dhikr. All comes from the same root. Dhikr or dhikra means reminder. That's the literal word. Reminder of what? You remind someone of what they already know. That's what dhikra is. You remind. So the Quran reminds you of something you already know, you already have. And the scholars here say, specifically the one who expounds on this so like in great detail is Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, and he says basically this faith is already in your heart in the form of a fitrah, as a seed. And what the Quran does, it awakens that seed. And that's what the reminder is. It awakens that seed and it nourishes it. So that's why it was called a reminder. So we already have this faith. So the message of the Quran, the core message of the Quran, is already inside of our hearts. It's already in our fitrah. And what the Quran does, it sparks that growth of that natural belief, and then it increases it. That's why we find Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, as he speaks about faith, he speaks about Iman, he speaks about Islam, he says وَقَوَامُ الشَّرِيعَةِ, he says the establishment of Islam, of the whole system of Islam, إِنَّمَا هُوَ بِالْفِطْرَةِ الْمُكَمَّلَةِ بالشريعة الفطرة المكملة بالشريعة المنزلة. أو قوام الدين إنما هو بالفطرة المكملة بالشريعة المنزلة. He's saying the establishment of Islam and the reality of Islam is in the fitrah that is completed and grown by means of the revealed guidance, the revealed system. That's really what Islam is. So you already have that seed. It needs to be awakened through revelation and then nurtured through revelation. And that's why reflection is the most important thing about the Quran. Why? Because you can read the Quran, and if you don't reflect on it, it will not trigger that fitrah. It will fall on deaf ears. And that's exactly the description Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave of the Khawarij. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he described the Khawarij, the one who rebelled later on against the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First they rebelled against Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu, they ended up killing him. And then they rebelled against Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, and one of them ended up killing him as well. And the Prophet ﷺ said, those people will always appear in Islam. They will rebel against the true system of Islam. But seemingly these people are very religious. The Prophet ﷺ describes them to the companions. So the Messenger ﷺ was speaking with the companions. He says to the companions, يَأْتِي أَقْوَامٌ تَحْقِرُونَ صَلَاتَكُمْ إِلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ وَصِيَامَكُمْ إِلَى صِيَامِهِمْ. A people will come. A people will come. And they truly came soon after the time of the Prophet ﷺ. You will belittle your prayer when you compare it to theirs. So when you see their prayer, your prayer seems like nothing. You don't pray as much. وَتَحْقِرُونَ صِيَامَكُمْ إِلَى صِيَامِهِمْ. And you, when you look at their fast, you will see your fast as nothing. You don't do as much as they do. They seem to be more devout. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ describes them. He says, their forehead and their knees, due to excessive sujood and prayer, the skin becomes hard and cracks. The Prophet ﷺ described it as the knee, their forehead will seem like the knee of the camel. You know, when the camel sits down, it kneels, right? And it sits on its knees. You look at the knees, very hard, rough skin, cracked. The Prophet said their foreheads will be just like that. Why? Because these people make so much sujood on hard floor, on the dirt, on the sand. A lot of prayer, to the point that, you know, the skin of their forehead turns out to be rough and hard, and it would be exactly like the knee of a camel. So imagine how much these people seem to be devout. They seem to be religious. They seem to be practicing. But the Prophet ﷺ, when he describes them, he says, يَمْرُقُونَ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ كَمَا يَمْرُقُ السَّهْمُ مِنَ الرَّمِيَّةِ. These people, their example with Islam, their experience with Islam is similar to the example of an arrow. When you shoot an arrow at an animal to hunt it, let's say a bird, if the arrow is strong enough, is at a high speed, it will rip through the bird and leave it. It will rip its body and keep going, right? So the Prophet ﷺ said, these people will rip through Islam just like the arrow rips through the body of the game. So they will go through it and they will have nothing left with them of Islam. Just like the arrow goes through the body of a bird or a rabbit, and it leaves with nothing on it. Why? Because it's so fast. This is how their experience with Islam is. Meaning, they have nothing of Islam. They have no connection, no real connection to Islam. Then the Prophet ﷺ says about them, يَقْرَؤُونَ الْقُرْآنَ لَا يُجَاوِزُ تَرَاقِيَهُم. They will recite the Quran. Obviously they pray and they fast and they read the Quran, but it will not go beyond their collarbones. The collarbones are the ones here, around your neck. So the scholars try to figure out, because this is an analogy, it's more of a metaphor. The companions tried to understand, what does that exactly mean? We know basically they're not, like they're reciting the Quran, they're not taking it in. That's the point. But so they figured out these people recite the Quran with their tongue, right? And maybe they're just thinking about what it means. They're trying to study the basic meanings, but they're not reflecting upon it to the point that this Quran and its meanings and its impact reaches their heart. Because if it reaches the heart, it's going to awaken the fitrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the Quran as مثانية تقشعر منه جلود الذين يخشون ربهم ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم إلى ذكر الله. The Quran, it has repetitive verses. Some verses are repeated. When it sends shivers through the body, through the skin of believers. When they hear the truth, some connection happens to their hearts, to their fitrah, deep inside of them. It sort of awakens that shiver. That's the spark when the fitrah awakens. They feel it, so they have this shiver. And that's exactly when the Quran touches you, feel this shiver, and it's a warm and strange feeling, right? But soon after, as you pay attention to it, you start taking it in, what happens? ثُمَّ تَلِينُ جُلُودُهُمْ وَقُلُوبُهُمْ إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Their hearts and their skin, their body, sort of feels comfort with that. It settles in and it sort of connects to that Quran. Why? Because it recognizes that's what I know inside, deep inside. That's why, for example, you have an Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah ta'ala, he identified 3 levels of recitation of the Quran, of experience with the Quran. So let's just finish off with the Khawarij. So the Khawarij, they read the Quran, they might sort of understand the basic meaning, study it, but not reflect. Reflection is not studying. Reflection is you take it to your heart. You let it shape your worldview. You let it inform you. You let it shape you and mold you inside. Studying it is understanding this verse means this. This verse means that. This word means this. It could help you. This study could help you reflect, but it does not guarantee that you will reflect. Reflection is the presence of your heart in the experience where you take it in. So, Imam al-Ghazali, the Khawarij, they read the Quran and they understand the basic meanings and they understand what it says on the surface. But it did not mold them and shape them. And that's why they used it against the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. They declared the companions of the Prophet ﷺ to be kuffar. Why? Because they did not do reflection. So the point of the Quran is reflection. If you let it go in, shape you, that's when the Quran does its magic. So, Imam al-Ghazali identified 3 levels of people who recite the Quran. He said, first level, a person who recites the Quran with their tongue, but their mind is wandering somewhere else. It's thinking of their business, it's thinking of their family, thinking of their bills, thinking of their commitments and their obligations and other engagements. So they're just reading, and they're not really, their mind is not there. And that's the lowest level. Second level, which is higher, is someone who recites the Quran and they're paying attention with their ears, and their attention, they have full focus over what they are reciting, so the words of the Quran come from their mouth into their ears and hopefully into their hearts. That's the second level. So first level, they're just reading with their tongues, but it's not going in. Second level, they are reciting the Quran, but what they are reciting goes into their ears, from their ears into their minds, and hopefully into their hearts. He said, but, which is a very good level, by the way, and that's what all of us strive to do. We're actually fluctuating between level 1 and level 2, right? And some people are completely off. No, but at least most of us hopefully struggle to be from recite as much as possible, and then try to get to the second level, which is basically you are trying to take it in and reflect upon it. Then he says the third level on the Quran, and that comes with people who really invest quite a bit of their life in the Quran. That comes with time, because that's an honor and a privilege to earn. The third level, he says that a person who the meanings of the Quran are in his heart. So when that person recites verses of the Quran, the experience feels as though the Quran is giving words to their heart, giving expression to their hearts. It's not easy to catch. I'll repeat it again. So he's saying someone who has the meanings of the Quran, not necessarily memorized. These are the meanings in the fitrah. This is the fitrah, natural recognition of Allah, natural love to Allah, this natural tendency to know Allah and worship Allah and search for the truth. So these meanings are there. So when a person recites the Quran or hears the Quran, it doesn't feel like they're taking it from the outside in, but they recognize it. It feels as if the Quran puts their faith in words. It puts words to their experience. And that comes with a pure heart, with someone who really put in the work and the time for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like we have something similar to that described in the Quran, by the way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about some of the people of the scripture, some of the Jews and the Christians who search for the truth. When they listen to the Quran, when they hear the words of the Quran and they grasp the meanings of the Quran, وإذا سمعوا ما أنزل إلى الرسول ترى أعينهم تفيض من الدمع مما عرفوا من الحق يقولون ربنا آمنا فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين. When they hear the words of the Quran, or when they hear what was revealed to the Prophet, to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you find the eyes tear up. مما عرفوا من الحق, because they recognize the truth. يقولون ربنا آمنا, they say, oh Allah, we have believed. We have believed. فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين, write us among those who bear witness to the truth. Another verse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا كُنَّا مِن قَبْلِهِ مُسْلِمِينَ. Before that we were already Muslims, believing in this. How come? Because they had the revelation, they believed in it. So anyone who has, this is why there were so many stories when the Prophet ﷺ spoke to someone came to the Messenger ﷺ, asked them about Islam, the Prophet ﷺ recited some Quran, the man automatically wanted to become a Muslim. How come? Because that resonated with them. It resonated with their fitrah. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats in the Quran oftentimes that the signs of Allah that benefit the people are the ones whose fitrah is still pure and they are looking for the truth, searching for the truth. When they find the truth, it matches their hearts, it matches their human nature, and it resonates with them. So they recognize it, they know it, it's not new to them. The Quran is not new to them. Yes, for the first time they hear these words, but as a spiritual experience, as a faith experience, the meanings, we know that, I know it. It's not new to me. It just puts words to what I have or what I already have inside of me. And that's truly the experience of faith, by the way. That's truly the experience of faith as opposed to intellectual learning and understanding. So unto intellectual learning and understanding, you're filling up that empty vessel. That's studying. Faith, no, is you already have the seed. You already have the seed. You give it the water, it grows. The seed is the fitrah, the water is, and the rain, that's the revelation, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah, by the way, referred to that in the Quran in a very subtle sense. Allah says, for example, in Surah, many times, but one of the examples is in Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. To Him, to Allah belong the creation, al-khalq, and al-amr, the legislation, the command. That means from Allah comes the creation, the form according to which you were created, which is your fitrah, and the revelation. Both of them came from Him. They can't be different. They came from the same source. So when they match together, that's when faith happens. When you take in the Quran into your heart through reflection, and they get together, now this chemical, reaction takes place. That's what faith is. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, for example, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَذِكْرَى لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. Indeed, in this there is a reminder. A reminder. Again, we explain what a reminder is. It awakens your fitrah. It reminds you of something you already know at a deeper level in your fitrah, in your very essence, at your core. Dhikra, reminder. لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ. To whoever, this is a reminder for whoever has a heart. Not any heart, but a heart that deserves to be called a heart. من كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. أو here, some of the mufassirin say, أو means or, but here doesn't necessarily mean or. It means and. Okay, but in some sense it means or, but that's a little bit a complex idea. But we can take the simple meaning, it means and. ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. And they sort of lend their ears. The Arabic word is very interesting. ألقى السمع, they throw their hearing. You sort of lay out your hearing. Your faculty of hearing, you lay it out. No resistance. It's open. ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. While they are completely present. Completely present. They are, shaheed means witness. Shaheed means also witness, like shahid, shaheed, witness. Witness what? Your fitrah witnesses this is the truth. So in order for someone to benefit from the created signs of Allah or the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the words of Allah in the Quran, they have to meet that. The heart has to be there searching for the truth, their fitrah in that sense. They have to, so that's where the Quran is supposed to arrive at. So faith happens. If your heart is obsessed with this world, it's not ready. So it's not going to receive. They call it, the scholars say, المحل هنا ليس بقابل. The reception place is not welcoming. It's not open to that. It's blocking any kind of message coming in. So it's not going to benefit. If your heart is saturated with loving sins and loving things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates, your heart is not receptive. You can't take the Quran in. Read as much as you want. No point. من كان له قلب. That's where the reception is. أو ألقى السمع, which means and, they open up, they unblock the conduit, the channel that leads to this reception place, which is your hearing. Your hearing. So you have to let the words of the Quran come in. Come in. They have to let them come in. If you are busy talking to someone else, or if you are checking your news feed, or checking your social media, or flicking through videos on YouTube, right? And you're listening to the Quran, you're reading Quran, forget it. You're not laying out your hearing. So it comes in. So the conduit or the channel is blocked or corroded. So you're not allowing it in. Even if you have a good heart, you're not getting it in. وَهُوَ شَهِيد. You have to be completely present. And again, if you want to take it as a witness, you have to bring your essence out. You have to bring your fitrah out, because you have to be a witness. How are you going to witness? These are the words of Allah. Your mind as a brain doesn't know, by the way, because your brain just takes in information. It's only your heart that knows. It's only your heart that knows. So you want to bring your heart and sort of, I would say, the word is to prime your fitrah. Prime your fitrah. Priming something, getting it, sort of provoking it to a point where it's very active. Very active. So that's what you want to do, prime your fitrah. And that's why, generally speaking, people are guided at moments when they are primed, when some kind of life-changing experience happens. When their understanding of the world falls apart and they have to fall back on their fitrah. So their fitrah is primed. Their human nature is awakened in a sense. They're searching for meaning. They want to make sense of things. They want to make sense of things. That's shaheed. That's you are present. You are a witness. You're experiencing the moment firsthand. So that's when you benefit from the Quran. So that's why the Quran, the main point with the revelation of the Quran is reflection. Tafakkur. Tadabbur. لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. So that they may reflect and ponder over the verses. That's why we ponder over the verses. We're not just studying words and what they mean and basic meaning, and that's good, that helps. But the experience that we want is an experience of faith where you take it to heart. You bring the revelation with the essence of the creation, the fitrah with the revelation. That's when faith is born. So that's what we want to do with the Quran. That's what we want to do with the Quran. So hopefully, inshallah, we might give some. Okay, I'll leave that for later on. I don't want to make any commitments. But inshallah, we will be going over the book, as we said, by Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, which is called Al-Mihajja fi Sayr al-Dulja. Okay, we're going to go over it. And sometimes as well, we might just, for the sake of variety, we might add 10 minutes, 15 minutes of reflections on Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Ali Imran, etc. Just to help you, inshallah, as the Imams recited, or as you read maybe your own word of the Quran, that hopefully, inshallah, you can as well have these meanings in your mind that will help you reflect, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah accept from all of us our fast and our salah.